What's going on, YouTubers, gamers and hobbyists? Welcome to P&Q, the question and answer series, where you ask me questions or put comments to me and then I respond in one of the following P&Q episodes. It might not be the very next episode, it might not be the one after, but eventually it will. So yeah, I've got a load of questions and I'm just going to get straight on with it actually. Just finding out on my iPad. I got my iPad here. I've got a drink as well, so there's my iPad. Got a drink. My iPad's got the questions on, so I will be looking down to read them. And okay, I'm just gonna go through. You know the score. But if you've got any questions or comments, put them down below. I will then give them a thumbs up, which means they've been added to my little program I've got here on my Mac, but it relates to my iPad, which randomizes the questions. So you could ask a question this episode. It could literally come up next episode or many episodes later, depending on how the randomness is and how many questions I get through in a session. I hope to go through like at least 10 if I can. So I'm just going to count down 1, 2, 3, 4. Right, okay. So I'm going to start with, what kind of music were you into as a kid growing up in the 80s? I've mentioned many times, haven't I, that the 80s, that was when I was a child growing up at school and stuff. And what kind of music was I into as a kid growing up in the 80s? Well, I didn't really... I liked music. When I was a youngster, I had a little record player. When I lived here in Seaton first time, I had a little record player and a few little records and that. I liked certain ones, but they were records that were bought for me, and I had my favourites and that. And I could mention several of those at that time. Bear in mind, I was like, 10 years old and under. I just like catchy tunes. Didn't matter who they were from, really. Something that, I don't know, would call out to me. I didn't have a favourite genre, or type of music at all. But when I moved to Plymouth and I started getting to know people, make friends and that, and they were all into different types of music and that. And a friend of mine called Christopher Hatton, who was the first friend I ever made in Plymouth when I moved there. Sadly, he's passed away now, but he was into heavy metal. Specifically, he was mostly into AC/DC, so that kind of thing. AC/DC, Status Quo, which at the time were considered, heavy metal. And so he played a few tracks for me for different albums, and I'm like, yeah, I can dig that. But then I remember my brother, he came to stay with us for a week or so, and he had bought this cassette. Do you remember cassettes? You could play in the car and whatever on a stereo, whatever. And he bought Killers by Iron Maiden, and I'd never heard of Iron Maiden before. Yeah. What drew me to it was I saw it there, because on the shelf he'd put this cassette on and I looked at it, the picture on the album cover, which was Eddie, of course, with the hatchet in his hand, and I thought, wow, that's just so cool. If I don't like this music, I like the artwork on the front. So I snuck the cassette away and I had a little listen to it, and my God, I was blown away. I was hooked instantly. The Ides of March and Wrathchild came pumping out of the speaker. I'm like, what is this? And then I was hooked. Had to have more, and so began my journey into the heavy metal period of my life, which has remained with me ever since. Not solely that, but at the time when I was a kid in the 80s, that's all I listened to was heavy metal. If it wasn't heavy, or if it wasn't heavy metal, then I wasn't interested. Pop music, that could do one. Had to be heavy, nice guitar sound, and all the rest of it, and real heavy stuff. And Iron Maiden became my favourite band of all time back then. I liked a bit of AC/DC as well, but I mean, my mainstay was Iron Maiden, and that is what ultimately, eventually, got me into playing music, on bass guitar, like Steve Harris, one of my heroes. So yeah, so Iron Maiden and heavy metal. That is my. That's a great question, though, sir. Great question. Right. Okay. Next question then. It's quite a simple one. KFC or Burger King? I notice you don't mention McDonald's, so obviously you're not a fan of that, but you obviously like those two. Well, these days, I don't know, because take KFC, for instance. The Kentucky Fried Chicken, the recipe's changed since I was a kid. I don't care what anybody says, it's not the same as it used to be. I don't like it as much now. I find it more fatty. There's lots of stringy bits in it. I don't like it much at all. KFC now, at all. Whereas in the early days, going back say 20 years, I thought it was fantastic. Best thing since sliced bread, but so out of those two, I'd say Burger King, as it stands now. Although that's changed over the years, but that's mostly been packaging. And although I'm not a fan of any type of food chain like that, like Burger King, KFC, or especially McDonald's, because I know what they put in those burgers, and it ain't good. Think about it for a minute. Billions of burgers per day are made in that franchise alone. Mathematically, there's not enough cows on the planet to cover that. Where does the meat come from? Just saying. But I like neither of them really now. Okay, let's move on. Ooh, we have a hobby question. What is your favourite colour to prime models in? That's pretty easy. That would be grey. It's a nice neutral colour, although that's been pre-shaded, but I do like grey. Of course, when I first started, there was only black, and then black and white. But I find grey is the perfect middle ground for me. So something like Mechanica Standard Grey, or even like a Vallejo, just plain grey, primer, or this brush on primer, this grey here. This is really cool. Grey primer I prefer because it's dark enough to give the colour of the paints that you apply the perfect, in my mind, the perfect colour, the perfect hue, shall we say. And it's light enough to give it the perfect hue as well, so it can be quite bright but quite dark as well. But it also would highlight any mold lines as well. That sometimes you clean your model off, so you're cleaning it off, you think, I've got it all, brilliant, spray some primer on it, oh, where did that mold line come from? Do you know what I mean? And it appears. It's happened so many times to me. Okay, next question. Does it rain much in Seaton? Not particularly. Usually, what I've noticed, especially the last couple of weeks, because I've just had the time to notice it more. When it says it's cloudy and would, like, say, for instance, a 50% chance of rain, it usually doesn't. Usually doesn't rain. It's usually sunny more often than not. Whereas when I lived in Plymouth, it was always raining. Even if it said it wasn't going to rain, it would rain. So I have to say, definitely doesn't rain any more in Seaton than it does anywhere else. And I do believe it rains considerably less than it does in other places as well. That's just my view. Oh, look at the next question. Do you watch detective series? Yes, I do. And I know you do too, because I know who wrote that question. You know I like detective series. Not all of them. Depends on how well they've been written. How the writing style. Like any production, I suppose. It depends on the production team. Sometimes if they're based on a set of novels, that can make a difference, because that, I find they are better written. Or if they're based upon like semi-true stories. And when I mean semi-true, with detective stories, it can mean the cases, like for instance, a Line of Duty. The cases are based on real cases, but they weren't all assigned to the same unit or department. But they do that for the fictionality of the series. But the cases are real, and that kind of thing. But the one I've been watching recently was called A Confession, with Martin Freeman. That was a brilliant series. That was based on a true story. I find them quite compelling, and I need to watch the next episode. I think that was just a one-off series because, like I say, it was a true story. But brilliantly done. And from the same person, I believe, which would make sense. Did you know that George Gently has MS in the series? Revealed in Series 7. Not sure how far along you are. What do you think about this? Well, as a lot of you know, if you've watched my Paint Along series, I finished watching George Gently quite a while back now. Yeah, so of course I knew he had MS. It was well written. I felt sorry for him because it was like set up to 1970s, so late 60s. Having MS then was a lot much harsher on you than it is now. They didn't have the same treatments then that they do now. Even now, they haven't cured it, but it can be quite well managed for the most part. You still will have symptoms. You'll always have symptoms, but it is better than it used to be. But it made me feel sorry for the character of George Gently in the series, so that was well done. That was very, very well done. Well, let's have a tea. I don't have. This is sleepy tea, by the way, so if I start falling asleep, you'll have to forgive me. Oh my god, this is a good, deep question. What is your take on the Fermi paradox? What a great question that is. And I don't know, hand on heart, who sent that one in, but what a great question. For those of you that don't know, the Fermi paradox is like, if the universe is like, infinite and whatever. This is the very, very basic thing of it. If the universe is so vast and infinite, how and the chances of life are phenomenal. How come we haven't seen them yet? Well, I have a couple of thoughts on that. The first one is literally that, because it is so vast and so big, the universe is so big, we could be so far away from any form of life, and in the vastness of the universe, that would just be nothing, it could take billions upon billions upon billions of years to ever come in contact with another form of life, because the universe is so vast. That's my first take on it. My second take is they probably already have made contact. They're probably here among us. I firmly believe we have done that. And I firmly believe that it's very likely that aliens walk among us. There you go. I've said it. I've put it out there. You can call me crazy. Call me what you like. I don't care. I don't care. I firmly believe they walk among us. And there's a whole rabbit hole about why. But anyway, what a great question. I love that. That was brilliant. Okay. Next question. Is there any kind of RPG module that you would like to see? And if so, what system would it be for? Module. Oh my god, wow. Is there any kind of RPG module I'd like to see? And if so, what system would it be for? You specifically said module, not game. So let's take the most obvious one, D&D, Dungeons and Dragons. I've got nothing for that, because what hasn't been done for D&D? You know, there's so many modules out there from so many fantastic writers that's all that would have already been done. You know, no problems there. So I'll go through the games that I can remember that I do play and go through. Call of Cthulhu, again. So many great modules out there already for it. You know, fantastic. I don't think I can add to that. Vampire the Masquerade or Werewolf or World of Darkness. We'll say World of Darkness. Again, so many modules out there for those games. I can't add anything to that. Forbidden Lands. It's fairly new. I mean, it's not new, but it's, in terms of the other games I play, it is new. It's one of the newer games I play, I suppose. Not so bothered, because I think with fantasy games, whatever the system, you can adapt other modules to them. I think it's easier to do that than it is other genres of RPG. So let's move on to I'll come on to two more, and they are Alien by Free League Gaming and Blade Runner by Free League Gaming. We might as well do the One Ring as well by Free League Gaming, because although that's fantasy, Middle Earth. So I would say any of those three. So there's only any kind of RPG module. So I haven't got any specifics, but just something else for any of those game systems would be brilliant. Okay, next question. Do you wear a Fitbit or use any technology to track your health? No, I don't. Mrs. Mini Warzone has a Fitbit. I don't have one. I'm not that fussed about it, to be truthful. Each to their own, I say. You know, if you feel you need that, just I don't care that much about it, to be truthful. I suppose I should, really, getting older and things, but I just haven't got around to it. I'm going through a difficult period in my personal life at the moment with regards to a bereavement. So, you know, I'm thinking of different things. It's making me think, maybe my wife and I, we should indict some sort of power of attorney for each other in case we lose our marbles. That would probably save us a world of pain further down the line. But I'm not going to go into that here. This is for these questions. But no, I don't use any Fitbit. I don't use any technology to track my health. Okay, this would be the 10th question then, and that is, how does one find the time to hobby with a busy lifestyle? Well, I can answer you that. The short answer, my friend, is with a busy lifestyle, you don't get much time to hobby. So what you have to do, or what is good to do, is to try and maximize what little you can put into the hobby to get, a maximum kind of effect out of it. So I'm fortunate. I work from home. But even if I was to go to a place of work and come home, I could spend 10 minutes a day doing something simple. Like say, flocking a bass, just one. Doesn't matter. If I did just one a day, end of the week, I've flocked 7 basses for 7 models, which would take me a lot longer if I was to do it in one sitting, or paint the rims of a bass, or just, I don't know, paint something simple like prime a few models, build one model, one little infantry model, and by the end of the week, you've got a little, I've done quite a little bit there. So that's how I do it, and that's how I would recommend it's done. Right, so that's 10 questions down. So let's move on to a couple more. Ooh, this is a good one. Do you like classic cars, and any favourites? Yeah, love classic cars. And I do have a favourite car. And it's the car that Inspector Morse uses in the original Inspector Morse series, the Mark II Jaguar. Oh my goodness, what a classic vehicle that is. They are just gorgeous. I fall in love with them. I fell in love with that car when I was a small child. I loved cars as a kid. I was a car nut. I had all the models. I knew loads of facts and figures about them all. What colours they came in, fuel consumption, all that kind of stuff. I just absorbed it like a sponge. How many cylinders, all that kind of stuff. What engine sizes. So yeah, Mark II Jaguar. Brilliant, yes. Of course, there's a lot of classic cars, different ones, but that is my favourite. You asked for a favourite, and that would be it. What on earth? Sorry, I've just seen this question. How do you rate coconuts? What? How do you rate coconuts? Is that a game, or are you literally asking me what I think about coconuts? I've got nothing here to tell me the context of this. It's taking me by surprise. Coconuts. Okay then. What can I tell you about coconuts? All right, I can tell you the first time I ever saw one as a small child. Maybe about 6 or 7 years old, when I lived here in Seaton, and it was at a fair that came to Seaton, and I was at the fair with my brother, and he won a coconut. He gave it to me, I'd never thought, well, what's that? Shaking it, it's got it's like water inside or something, and so it sounds like coconut milk inside or something, So we, when we got home, got him to break it open the next day, and we were looking at this stuff. Drank the liquid itself. I can remember thinking, nah, I don't like the taste of that. It's not very nice. But you can eat the white stuff, and I'm like, yeah. Again, I'm not sold. And having to break it open with a hammer or something, I can't do that as a child. So, it's not really my thing. But now, I quite like coconut. Coconut milk, I quite like. Ironic. But yeah, if that's what you mean, I don't know if there's anything else called coconuts, or there's a game, or I don't know if there is, or a film or something. But I'm literally telling you about coconuts. Okay, let's try and get something a bit different. Is it just me, or did everything seem better in the past, or am I simply an old git? Ah, no, you're not alone there, my friend. Yeah. Now this, oh my goodness, what time have I got on here? 25 minutes. I better make this one of the last questions. I don't know about you, but the world is vastly different to me now. I don't know how it seems to you. In the past, say 5 years, the world for me has changed. It feels different. It feels slightly off. The passage of time feels slightly off. The experience of Mandela effects seems hugely increased and is increasing at an exponential rate. The path, the perceived world is taking through news outlets, social media, whatever, if you believe that, has become a very strange place. It feels like a mental asylum. I don't feel like I'm in the same world I was born into. We're getting deep here now, but well, you've asked, and I'll answer any questions. So yeah, so things were definitely for me better in the past. Like I say, life, this realm, this dimension, whatever I'm in, whatever I'm living in, does not feel like the same one that I was originally born into. It's just slightly off. I can't explain it, but it's a feeling I've had for a very long time. If you guys want to go deeper with this, I'm happy to do so. Pop a comment down below and I can do a video just on that, and we will dive into it. But yeah, you're not alone. I definitely think things were better in the past. Time seemed and yeah, time goes quicker when you're older anyway, for obvious reasons, yes, but it's more than that. Time doesn't just go quicker now. It's gone before you can even think about it. You know, we're heading into winter already. It's like, what? You know, we're getting to, you know, it's like, what's going on? You know, I don't feel like I've had a summer yet. Yeah. I can't give you a definitive, but there is one out there somewhere. There's a truth that I've yet to uncover, and yeah, God, talk about end on a strange note. But yeah, so yeah, wow. let's just do one more quickly, kind of lighten it up a bit. Or not lighten it, but get into a bit shallower water. What is your favourite day of the week? That's usually Friday after work. So 12 o'clock on a Friday afternoon. Best day of the week. Best half day of the week. Then I've got the rest of Friday, and then I've got the weekend ahead of me. Brilliant. Lovely, jovely. And that, my friends, brings me to the end of my P&Q session. Thank you ever so much for watching. I really do appreciate your views. Any comments you want to put to me, just pop them down below, and if appropriate, I'll address them on another P&Q. And I've seen some recently, and I thought, oh yeah, I look forward to coming across that in the question randomizer. That would be great. So thank you again, and thanks for watching. Do remember, all brushes lead to war. I'll see you on another video. So bye for now. Bye bye.